welcome to Expert Subjects Weekly Podcast. Today we have David Gavin with us, a voiceover actor or a voiceover artist, as some people may know his profession, who is very skilled at using social networking to help market himself in an ever-competitive field. I have spoken about all sorts of tools that writers need in today's market, and fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of literary agents and publishers, big and small, need writers to be able to have a platform or be able to social network. So Dave is here today to explain a little bit about how to set yourself up with these tools and what social networking or a platform will mean for you as a writer. Dave, what can you tell us about some of these various platforms for writers?
Well, we'll narrow it down to the most popular ones. Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are basically the ones that are most effective. They're most recognized. To have a page set up on each or a profile set up on each, which can then be interlocked with each other, and one can access the other for the user or for the person searching that particular person. It becomes very easy to look at a lot of different aspects of a person's career, what they're offering in different social platforms.
Right. Now, a lot of people may think of Facebook in a negative way or in a purely social way, but Dave can tell us how Facebook can have a different type of persona for you as a writer.
With Facebook, let me just preface this by saying it took me a year and a half to, after I set up a Facebook page, I was almost a year and a half with the fear of the onslaught of telling 5 million people what I've been doing for the past 40 years.
Right.
I can promise you'll get over that real fast. It comes and goes. Beyond that, what will happen is there's a thing called Facebook Pages, which is basically geared towards business.
Right.
Okay.
So this Facebook Pages, it would vary from your personal Facebook page.
Yes, it would. And what happens very often is it often cross-integrates. I have many of my clients on my personal Facebook page, probably as many or more than I do on my business page. But they're both very worthwhile having, because your business page will be for posting what you do.
Right.
It'll be posting your profession.
Right. So in other words, if you have, let's say, an ebook coming out in the next month and you want to publicize the release date on Kindle, then you would make announcements on your Facebook page, and you would maybe put a little excerpt from your book, as well as then posting it on LinkedIn and
Twitter.
And Dave, how do you link all these separate forums?
They all have the ability to retrieve what are known as HTML. I think most people that are online these days knows what HTML is. It's the language that creates the visuals.
Right.
To make it simple. Every one of those platforms has badges available in the form of HTML, that if you have access to your page's HTML, you can paste it in and it will show up on your home page, and it will become a link to every other network or profile that you have online.
Right.
So what you're creating is what was earlier known as the cloud. You're creating a cloud of access to your persona, to your profession, to what you can do. Your Twitter, Twitter was born of really, it was with writers in mind originally. And what it does is you can tweet very quickly a link to a blog that you may have on your website, where you may be running a novel, chapters of a novel at a time, or good applications for writers to use. that will lead them to your website, which again, you're expanding your presence.
Right.
And they can, from your Twitter account, from the link on the Twitter account, they can link over to your website and read what your daily or weekly blog is.
Great. Which leads us to having a website in addition to these other platforms, which would be a place where you could use your creativity, have a bio, have excerpts from your writing, have a resume, whatever it is that jazzes you and makes your website individual and unique. And then, Dave, on that website, you would have links to all the other platforms.
That's right. And again, that goes back to within LinkedIn, within Facebook, within Twitter, you have to sort of dig into their preferences and settings, and you will find badges that you can paste on your homepage that all it says is LinkedIn, but it will eventually, you click on that, it will bring you the person to the LinkedIn profile.
Right. And if any of you have noticed, if you go onto LinkedIn, there's sort of a news feed like there is on Facebook, and that's where a lot of people have their tweets running, right?
Tweets, and actually, you can set up your Twitter homepage like I have to show every tweet I make.
Yeah.
So if I say tweet about a new voiceover app that I think is useful for people, now this is another one I should mention. SoundCloud, I'd like to stress, is really good. It started as a music platform. Voiceover people took on to it very quickly because it's a great place to demonstrate your audio. Mm-hmm. If you're doing readings, if you're doing dramatic readings, if you want people to hear your stuff, SoundCloud is a great place to also include in your social networking platform.
Which leads us to the topic of podcasting, because that's another great tool that you can utilize on your website as well. And then he's saying you can also put it on SoundCloud, YouTube.
And SoundCloud, again, gives you the option to set up a full profile and put all the links again to... Now, the newer one also is Google+. A lot of people are starting to notice that.
Right.
Every one of these platforms leaves you the ability to put links to all of your other profiles.
Right.
So you're creating this sort of 360-degree presence.
Right.
And the more you set up, the more, if somebody goes to look for your name in particular, your name is going to encompass, and it will encompass a lot of pages on Google, which is kind of important for any business, be it writing, voiceover, selling products, whatever it may be.
So hopefully this information all comes in useful. You can also read this week's article on expert subjects, which will talk about the whole need for platform as a writer, and how it's oftentimes literary agents and publishers won't even consider you unless you have this already in place. So you will look professional and really contemporary in this marketplace if you have all of this kind of set in motion beforehand. So thank you, Dave, for coming to Expert Subjects today.
Okay, if I may add in one more thing, basically what this all boils down to is that it's priceless advertising.
Right.
It's advertising that people would have spent millions for not many years ago.
Right.
You're reaching the world. You're speaking to the entire world, which is much different than talking to a New York market.
Yep, that's true. So thank you, David Gavin, the voiceover all. And thank you for visiting at Expert Subjects. Until next time.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks, Dan.